Hello, vinyl community. It's Bill here again, and Happy New Year to you. If you didn't see my vinyl tag 2023 response to Rob Walker's questions, I think the vinyl community has had great fun answering those 20 questions. So if you're not already making and publishing your own videos, now's the time to do it. Get on board that vinyl tag 2023 train as soon as you can. So, but today I'm here to do acquisitions and divestments video for Q4 of 2022. Now, usually when I do these videos, I say, haven't really divested myself of any albums, CDs, or otherwise, certainly not vinyl, but this quarter is an exception. So, firstly, and I'll show some photos of the album covers or the CD covers. Firstly, I divested myself of a couple of CDs, two by that wonderful jazz pianist who is Bill Evans. So I had a copy of Waltz for Debbie and Everyone Digs Bill Evans, both wonderful albums. But a little while ago, I got a wonderful 12 CD or 12 album box of CDs of Bill Evans. So there was a bit of duplication there. So I thought I'll give those two to Oxfam, a sort of charity thrift shop, and somebody else can get to discover the wonderful Bill Evans. And while I was at it, I got rid of a handful of other albums. So there was Rilo Kiley's The Backlight, which was a great album, but I haven't played it in a long time, so I thought I'd get shot of that one. And then there was the Lightning Seeds Jollification and Kula Shaker, which was in some of these lists of best 200 albums ever, but has dropped out of those listings. And then I had a couple of Old Blue Eyes compilations, so I got rid of one of those. And then Queen, I think that particular album always made me feel sad about the passing of the wonderful vocalist Freddie Mercury, wonderful showman as well. And then I had a Verve edition of three fantastic blues ladies, not blues ladies, jazz ladies. So one of them's more bluesy than jazz, at the Newport Jazz Festival. And that was Ella Fitzgerald, Billie Holiday, and Carmen McRae. And again, that was an album that I haven't played very often. So I thought I'd give them to the charity shop as well, with the hope that someone will discover these three jazz legends by virtue of buying that CD. And then I was never sure if it really counted as VCLT, but I sent a NME newspaper, or most of it. I don't think it was a complete newspaper, which had the Who and a sort of homage to the cover of Who by Numbers. So it was actually a photograph of the Who, but John Entwistle was wearing a white suit, so they did the dot to dot on the white suit. And Nick of Nick's Vinyl Butty, which is a must-watch channel, he had said that would make a good poster on the wall, or a good piece of artwork that should be framed. So I thought, there you are, buddy. I'll send you that. And I didn't have any, well, I didn't think of any vinyl that I could send him, but I sent him a CD with 4 great blues albums on it. And one of the reasons I did that was that I had recently acquired, not the only reason, recently acquired this wonderful set. It's called An Easy Introduction to the Blues, Top 16 Albums. So really great set of classic blues albums. So we'll go through them. There's Bobby Bland and 2 Steps from the Blues, which is great, and Howling Wolf's Moaning in the Moonlight. So this was, the Howling Wolf was one of the ones that I sent to Nick. There's a nice little booklet with it as well, little essays, some great sort of collages of different memorabilia, etc. So all about the blues, etc. And then there was To John Lee Hooker. So they're great. I've been listening to this a lot. There's Professor Longhair, No Buts, No Babies, and Freddie King Sings. Then we had strange one, Screaming Jay Hawkins. And I don't know if anybody watching is aware of his catalogue. I hadn't come across, I knew the name, but I hadn't come across his material before. And so his vocal style is very interesting. His guitar, does he play guitar? His guitar playing is great as well. And then there was Johnny Guitar Watson and Space Guitar Master, Jimmy Reed's Rocking with Reed, and Ray Charles' The Genius Sings the Blues. And then I think I didn't pay that much for this 16. I think it was less than £10, maybe 10 to 12 pounds I paid for this CD box set. But Etta James at last, and the second time around, plus the Bobby Blue Band and the Ray Charles one, was worth the entrance fee alone. So Etta James's vocals on the track At Last is one of the masterpieces in the blues R&B catalogue. And then these 2 albums by Muddy Waters were also on that 4-album CD that I sent to Nick. So Muddy Waters at Newport, and Muddy Waters sings songs from Big Bill Broonzy's collection. So that's really good. And completing the set, there was 2 albums by B.B. King, King of the Blues, and My Kind of Blues. Yeah, so I was really pleased to get this selection of blues albums on CD, two albums per CD, and that meant that I had some duplication, and Nick became a benefactor of that. So I think he was really interested in the NME cover, but he got a bonus of a CD as well. And then I don't know if you people out there have come across this series, Complete Roots, and I was looking actually for some more White Stripes related albums, and I spotted this one, and it's great. It's got a whole selection of 22 different blues and maybe country blues tracks on it. We've even got, what was the song? Harrigan, with the vocalist is none other than Jimmy Cagney from the gangster movies. This has got Boogie Chillin' by John Lee Hooker. We've got Jambalaya, On the Bayou by Hank Williams, John the Revelator by Son House, and The Boll Weevil by Leadbelly, amongst others. So, and Get Rhythm by Johnny Cash. So I was really pleased to pick up the roots of the White Stripes. I think there's a whole series about the roots of Led Zeppelin, the roots of the Rolling Stones, the roots of the Black Keys, things like that. And I must admit, for certain blues, maybe the sort of 30s and 40s blues, you're probably best with a compilation rather than a whole album by Charlie Payton, for example. But that's just my opinions. Somebody might really like an hour and a half of Charlie Payton. So that's the CDs. Now I'm going to turn to vinyl that I've bought between October and December of last year, 2022. And I think I featured this one in the vinyl tag, but Get On Board with Taj Mahal and Ry Cooder and Joachim Cooder's, who's Ry's son, on percussion. This is a fantastic album. I think Ry Cooder mentions about, well, it's based on an album, I think, but the songs of the wonderful duo of Sonny Terry and Brownie McGee. If you don't have any Sonny Terry and Brownie McGee in your collection, then it is time to get some. But this is a good maybe introduction to their catalogue or their style of blues music. But yeah, you can read the track list here. Though I must admit, I always thought it was "We Shall Not Be Moved" rather than "I Shall Not Be Moved." I think it's a protest song. "We" has more gravitas to it than "I." There you go. I first came across Drinking Wine Spoddy Woddy by Jerry Lee Lewis on the London Sessions album, which is a great album. Thoroughly recommend it as well. But yeah, all these tracks are very simple back sleeve. So there's a little piece of text by Taj Mahal and another one by Ry Cooder. And Ry Cooder is saying about when he was a young boy, he picked up a Folkways 10-inch LP called Get On Board by the Folk Masters, featuring Brownie McGee, Sonny Terry, and the elusive Coyle McMahon. So in the third quarter of 2022, I was fortunate enough to go on holiday with my lovely wife to Canada, to British Columbia. And at the end of the trip, we flew back to Seattle in the US and spent a few days in Seattle, which was great. And they have a wonderful museum of pop culture there in Seattle, not far from their Space Needle or that high tower buildings that you see in lots of cities. And you could take a monorail to go along to that Space Needle, and also visit the Museum of Popular Culture, which is a wonderful building designed by Frank Gehry. So there were various exhibition halls, but I realized I didn't have much hip hop in my collection. So I got this hip hop collected. So we've got Run DMC, we've got the Wu-Tang Clan, we've got Nas, we've got the Beastie Boys, Tribe Called Quest, etc. And I think I also researched, I think it was a BBC Sounds article, and it gave the top 20 hip hop records. So I think there were at least 8 from this collection that were on that list. Nice white vinyl. And on the other disc, nice red vinyl or wine vinyl. Looks as though Jack White might have said something to do with the design package and what color of vinyl to use. And then we've got this sort of essay about hip hop, and we've got the sleeves of the original 7-inch, or some of these might have been 12-inch, I don't know, singles by the various bands. So yeah, there's some classics on here. Nas doing NY State of Mind. We've got Busta Rhymes, Woo-Ha, Got You All in Check, and A Tribe Called Quest doing Can I Kick It? Tone Lock doing Wild Thing, and Eric B and Rakim Paid in Full, Mini Madness, the Cold Cut remix. So I've really enjoyed listening to this hip hop collected. I think there's a series of collected albums, and they are from Music on Vinyl for Universal, but they are, I think, a Dutch production company or distributor. And then, so that was a new vinyl. In my favorite second-hand vinyl, or cherished vinyl, or previously owned vinyl, I managed to pick up, I think there's 3. So the first one is Eagles on the Border. Nice artwork, and I like the typography on the back as well. But this is almost the greatest hits, actually. You've got, Already Gone, Midnight Flyer, On the Border, James Dean, Old 55. I think that's Tom Waits' song, and The Best of My Love. So really good album, very strong album, The Eagles on the Border. And this was later than I thought. This actually came out in 1976. Great stuff. And then Deep Purple, Made in Japan. I've been looking for this for a while. Really nice copy, gatefold, etc. But yeah, the whole, all 4 tracks are great. Highway Star, Child in Time, Strange Kind of Woman, Lazy, Smoke on the Water, The Mule, and of course Space Truckin', which spans a whole side of this double LP. So as I say, been looking for this for a while, and it turned up in my local second-hand records store, Made in Vinyl at Rosemount Viaduct in Aberdeen. So really pleased to get my hands on this. Space Trucking is fantastic, although I must admit, drum solos, yeah, why do they go on so long? Answers on a postcard. And then from the same store as Eagles and Deep Purple, I got Bad Company's debut album, and this has got some fantastic. There's not a bad track on this. There's not a bad track on the Bad Company debut album. And yeah, can't get enough. Ready for Love. And Seagull is a really nice ballad. So I did have this one previously, but must have been when I was a hard up student and looking for money for beer, and I sold it. So I had to get this one back, and I got this one for a £5, which is very good value. So delighted with that purchase. And then rounding up 2022, I was lucky enough to get a token for, or a gift card for a huge chain of music stores in the UK, the one with the wee dog barking into the trumpet part of the record player. So I had a nice sum to spend, and HMV, don't tell anyone, but HMV were doing a sort of, I think there was 2 for £40 or 3 for £50. So I managed to get 3, and I added a couple of quid as well. But I was delighted to pick up these 3 albums. So first of all, we have the wonderful Buena Vista Social Club and Cuban music. And yeah, that guy Ry Cooder's heavily involved. I think Joachim Cooder was involved as well. And I won't test my Spanish by reading out the list of tracks, but a lot of Cuban traditional music here, and there's a track called Buena Vista Social Club, which is like an instrumental, and it's fantastic as well. Some great piano, some great guitar and percussion as well. But I was lucky enough to visit Cuba back in 2014, and we had one evening we went along to a concert, and they claimed it was people that would have performed in Buena Vista Social Club. I think it was some of their contemporaries. There was a lady there, I think, sure she was in her 90s, and yeah, some wonderful evening, wonderful entertainment, lovely duets. And I think this lady in her 90s was flirting with the audience and some of the younger members of the band. Some of the young men in the show, she was really flirting with them. Great double album this. I remember doing a Richard McCook sort of challenge, and one of his questions was, which group do you just need a best of and you don't need any of their actual studio albums? And I had the audacity to suggest that the Kinks, A Golden Hour of the Kinks, or another compilation was all you needed of the Kinks. And boy, did I get my fingers wrapped by other members of the vinyl community. And I think that's probably rightly so, because I've listened to a few of the albums on my favorite streaming service, but I managed to pick up the debut album, and having said that Bad Company, there's not a bad track on it. This collection, some covers and some Dave Davies originals. This is great. We've got Long Tall Shorty. We've got I'm a Lover, Not a Fighter. The DNA of heavy metal. We've got You Really Got Me, and then wonderful lyrics of Stop Your Sobbing, or the way that the vocal delivery is quite unique on Stop Your Sobbing. So, and Got Love If You Want It, which to me sounds as though the Who ripped that off with I've Got Love If You Want It, and I think that was a High Numbers song. But yeah, I've certainly heard that song before. I'm not sure who's claiming writing credits or whether it was a traditional blues number that both the Kinks and the Who have borrowed. I think the Who's track was called I'm the Face. But there we have the second of the three that I got for £55, and then the final of the hat trick. Did I get some stick for my hat trick comments on my vinyl tag? But yeah, this is Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds and the Boatman's Call, and I'd seen this in various lists before, and I had thought it was more like a punk or post-punk type band. Boy, was I wrong. Do you call it the timbre of Nick Cave's voice is just fantastic. Well, I knew that from Ghosteen, but yeah, the other guys in the band, it's quite, each song is quite simply rendered, if I can put it that way, and backing up Nick's vocals and piano playing. So there are some really nice arrangements on the Boatman's Call. I need to play it a few more times to get it in my head, but yeah, highly recommended. It's again been on lists of 500 albums any self-respecting music collector should own, and I'm not going to argue with that at all. So that's it from me, and I want to thank all my subscribers. I picked up 3 or 4 with the vinyl tag, so that's much appreciated, and I wouldn't mind if you put some comments below if you've enjoyed this video, and keep telling myself I'm buying too much records. So I think picking up 8 pieces of vinyl, or 8 vinyl records, and the CD box set and the CD, I'm being quite frugal and not wasting my money. So no, music collectors don't waste their money, they just invest. So I keep thinking I maybe should try and buy less and listen more to the ones that I do buy. So not sure if that's a New Year resolution or not, or one that I'm bound to not keep. Bound to break that resolution fairly quickly. But yeah, rambling on. So we're going to cut it short there, and I'll be back shortly, I think, and I must do a short video based on my trip to Seattle. Bye just now. Take care.